So, first order of business. Apologies to Max for releasing this episode so late. It was sometime mid last year, 2023, that we filmed this. It was a very weird transition phase for me, where I was thinking of whether or not I should continue two formats or combine them into one, and I ultimately decided to probably just focus on LLB. So the old EOA format is no more. And this was originally for EOA, but then I decided now, to bring it back and put it on for LLB. The format is slightly different. Back then, I was more open to meandering. I cut out some stuff in the beginning to have more focus. So for the first part of the podcast, we learn a little bit about how Max thinks on some topics. So kind of understanding the framing of a founder, or you get to see how he thinks, analytically, and you see how he's kind of a deep thinker. And then we move on to straight of the usual format, focusing on Max's company, VSTORY, and what the team is building and the problems they're solving, and how it relates into AI space and the specific industry for studio production in movies and TV and films. And then lastly, we have a more open discussion around general thoughts of AI. Even though this film maybe more than probably about a year ago at this point, I think it's very relevant. A lot of the topics we talked about, things have massively changed. And part of the thesis of what Max discusses later in the episode probably is still relevant. I think all the new developments probably will help Max. And I think it's not too often you come across someone working in a space that's just not a pure rapper that's just following some hype and trend. And I think this episode has a lot to offer, even though it's a year old. So let's dive right in. Max, thanks for being here, man.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it's I loved just watching what you were doing. So I'm getting a sense of very keen attention to detail. Is it fair to say, are you close to a perfectionist or no?
It's a hard question, actually. If we're talking about projects, my idea of how to do stuff is more of ergonomics. Like you have this kind of time frame, and you should work with that time frame, and you should do best whatever you could in this time frame. But if I don't have a time frame, of course, I will perfectionize everything I can and do it the best possible way until I will see that and say, I like it.
And this is due to the nature of your background, your profession. So being a director forces this, I guess, in a sense, right? Where
I think capitalism forces that.
Okay.
Because you have so much competition around you.
Yes.
You just have to be, because if you don't, you're not viable on the market. And basically working in my first commercial company, which happened roughly 20 years ago, really taught me on what capitalism is, because my employers, they were always hiring, they were always taking too much work that people couldn't do in time.
Yeah.
And we were forced to work overtime every time, and and deadlines were very hard. On one side, it just made their pockets bigger with money, but on the other hand, it really taught me how not to project manage. And how to give the best you can in a very tight short time frame.
Okay.
So I think it's necessary for a person to understand that, what you can do and what you cannot do, and where to be perfectionist and where not to be. And this trope of capitalism is actually good. I like it because it brings up fire in people. It makes people work and educate themselves to be more sophisticated and more powerful in what they do. But on the other hand, if you leave that out of the equation, the need to compete, it will bring other things from a person, and it will bring other type of creativity and planning. Because when I quit that company and went to the other one, I was already art director, not a 3D artist, and I completely changed the way things worked.
For yourself?
For everybody in the company.
Okay.
I stopped work. I said we're not gonna work on holidays anymore. We're not gonna work on weekends anymore. Every overtime is paid, and it made a very comfortable situation for every designer in the company, and producers had to plan their work and the work of designers, not just pushing all the work to them. And eventually the quality of what we did grew really fast. So perfectionism sometimes comes not by pushing to the limit yourself to the limit, but by relaxing yourself.
Relaxing the constraints.
Yeah, because you have time. When an artist works on a painting or something, he works for a couple of hours, he goes away, he maybe slips with it, he may come back to it in a month or a week or so. When the thought process happens on your back end of your psyche, and eventually you return to it with something new ideas, and the painting is better, way better, and more perfect in a way than it could be if you just pushed yourself to do it in one set. So I believe like everything is complicated.
Yes, for sure.
It's not easy to produce it's not easy to say what's the best way. I think every way has its benefits and its flaws.
You were speaking about when you were relaxing constraints for your work. That was for your own company or for which company?
That first time it happened when I was working in AC production, and it changed the name to CG company.
Okay.
And then I tried to build the same for my company also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while working for another CG company, you were able to relax constraints because you had more say, so you were in charge of more, and but there's so much to unpack with what you just said just now. It's like you said, it's very deep and complex, right? So when you relax the constraints, you said you produced better quality. How do you measure quality in terms of what? Are we talking in the capitalist sense where there's more return, or you're saying artistically or emotionally, or what are you kind of speaking to?
First of all, of course, economically.
Okay.
It brought more clients to the company because the quality of what they did was worse before I came, and the quality of course, imagery and other aspects of like I'm talking about making TV ads.
Okay.
There are not many emotional stuff there. The emotional stuff is very basic, but most of the time, and that was my like second move, because I will always like you're working and you're seeing that there are some projects that inspire you, even in TV commercial business, and those projects you just want to make them. You just want to make funny, interesting, intricate, and how to put it, engaging ads. And not many times you have that opportunity. But throughout my that's why I quit working for others and started working for myself, because I wanted to build a company that would work and make commercials that would be emotionally driven, artistically driven, and bringing more, I don't know, more life into mundane TV ad. That was my idea then, and I was wrong completely because you cannot build business on that.
Purely alone.
Yeah. You can build, I don't know, you can build an art installation with this mindset, but not business. Yeah, and that took me a while to get. But eventually I understood how money works and stopped being selfish.
Overly artistic?
No, I just divided the two things.
Yeah.
I started doing my own projects, art projects.
I see.
Yeah, and separated them from work. Work became just how to put it. Work started to be more on money side and business side and client satisfaction side, and my art became my own art, where I'm God and I can do whatever I want. Yeah. So.
How do you? Is it a hard split? Because I would imagine, even like you said, you want to relax the constraints. So even in your economic work, you would still want to have some type of expression of yourself or authenticity, right?
When there are like 20 people deciding if it's good or not, whatever you do, it will end up
not being what you
you see, I love collaborations.
Yeah.
When I meet an experienced creative director, or sometimes it happens on the client side. Sometimes you meet people who are profound in what they do, and they like what they do, and they can add to what you are doing.
Okay.
And when this happens, this is beautiful. I had this kind of experience for a Metro ad I made. The lead producer from the client side just made comments that were great. Like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. This adds up so much to the idea, and I was so happy to have this kind of person on a project. Yeah. And there are other stories that happens when we had a production of another video ad for a train network, and eventually the post-production was one day. We weren't able to put it in any other time frame, so we had 3 months before that, trying to understand what kind of text client wants, what kind of music client wants, and we were having long conversations and long meetings about it. Eventually, when we filmed everything, made music and made the text the client wanted, client saw everything together, understand that this is bullshit. Absolutely. And the one day before we should air, and there's no turning back. Yeah. And I was lucky to be in the voiceover studio at the moment. I just set up, wrote a new text, read it, put in new music on the same edit, and put this text in, and it went. And the client said, "This is perfect, just wonderful." Really? And this was like my I wrote a poem, and it worked.
Oh, interesting.
And it just happens in a very tight and very stressful situations, when your brain starts working very fast, and it brings up best from you. It also possible.
Yeah, so exactly. So I think what you described is the exact opposite of what you were saying in terms of relaxing constraints, right? There's always that notion where routine constraints also produces
Yeah, of
as
course.
much creativity too.
Of course.
Right? So it's like a forcing function, and I guess different way though, right?
They both work, what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They both work for different purposes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you should have this one, sometimes that one. You should be profound in both ways.
Yes.
Then you'll be able
correct.
to succeed more.
And I think that's very important wisdom after decades of work, probably, that you figured this out, right?
Maybe.
And because if you contrast it to what you said against, well, with capitalism, right? Capitalism forced you to be too rigid, too tight. And when you relaxed it, you could get innovation. But at the same time, the space of pure artistic expression also rests in the excess of capitalism. When you have time and leisure that you could buy, right? So it's almost like a yin and a yang, I guess you could say, right? These opposing forces. And I think that's very important to the journey, especially when we talk to VSTORY. I think that's going to be an important narrative because without that understanding or those experiences, it's you either end up doing one or the other too much, probably, right? So with that in mind, why don't you tell us exactly what is VSTORY? What are you working on in this current project? Maybe like a quick elevator pitch in a sense.
VSTORY is a project that will free creative people from the hands of the studios. Mm-hmm. And also will free studios from the hands of creative people. because it's also like, just as we talk just right now, it works both ways.
Yeah.
It will cheapen the production of animation and movies so much that a regular person without any knowledge of how to direct movies and to produce them in any way will be able to do their animated series or a movie they want. And eventually it will allow, not eventually, but in parallel with that, it will allow studios to produce cheaper and cheaper movies and to spend more time on quality and less time on budgeting, which makes many things go away from schedule. We will start at first as a actually animatic, which is basically animated storyboards production. And it will be 10 times cheaper than any storyboard artist working on that and then making a little bit of animation to pitch these ideas. This will be a perfect pitching tool. It will go in as a subscription plan that will allow you to make as much changes as you want in the premium side of it. And eventually this will allow me to do my dream project, because the whole thing started as a way to produce my own TV series. 12 years ago, already more than 12 years ago, I came up with the idea of stories that's called Heart's Tale. And it's a sci-fi, steampunk, epic adventure. It happens in a very beautiful, colorful world. And the worst thing you can do is to have a need to produce such a thing as a movie, because it's the most costly production you can ever imagine. Fantasy, sci-fi, it's always the worst in terms of investment and funding for it. So I tried to, so I wrote a book. I thought to myself, no, I'm not gonna try to pitch the movie because nobody will give me money, because nobody knows me. And what I will write a book, people will read the book, I will have a fan base, and with that I will go to studios, they will give me money. So I wrote the book.
It's like a very traditional path to how movies get produced or TV series get produced these days.
Yes, this was the idea. And eventually I wrote the book, and I edited the book, and I translated the book, and I was already ready to publish it.
Yeah.
But war in Ukraine happened, and the publisher left Russia. So I wasn't able to publish. Right now I'm in the talks with another publisher. So it all takes time. It takes freaking amount of time. And eventually I started, publisher before that told me that you just not only have to write the book, you have to advertise it yourself. You have to make a PR campaign yourself and have around like maybe 50,000 subscribers, to have like 3,000 of them to be able to buy the book when it's released, to have an impact. Because if you don't have that, your book will be just laying there and nobody will know about it, nobody will buy it. And I was sad, I can tell you, because it's such a long way to go to produce your own idea. Because if it's not Batman or Superman right now, it's completely, it's almost impossible to go with new IP if you're nobody. And I was sad for a while, and then eventually I came up with the idea that I should do the previews, little short stories to collect before the publishing.
Build a fan base.
Yeah. And then I started publishing those short stories. Subscribers grow, they still grow, but very, very slowly. So eventually I thought to myself, what can I do? I do videos. Let's do videos. Let's do small animated stories. And I started using Midjourney for that. It was already released like a year ago, almost a year ago. I animated them, and they had a way bigger impact, like more views, very positive reaction. And I thought to myself, yeah, I need to do that. But even for me, being an industry professional and being able to animate stuff myself, it takes a month to produce 1 4-minute visual novel with...
a month, 4 minutes, wow. It's a lot of work.
Simple animation, just good voiceover, nice music, just to work everything. It takes a month. Of course I do parallel stuff, but step by step it's a long process. So I thought to myself that I need something to be able to produce that faster. And that's how I came up with VSTORY. And it was almost a year ago when Disco Diffusion was released, when I saw potential of neural networks and tried some stuff myself. I can program a little, but not much. I can work with Google Colab. It doesn't frighten me. So that's how I came with the idea that I need a tool that will produce, because when you are writing the rules to produce a good visual novel are not very hard to replicate, to copy the idea of how frames should go. Each frame, like this is a wide shot, this is a close-up, this is like action scene, and you can have templates for that. And I came up with the old structure of what we should do with this, and I started producing. It's like already almost a year passed, and at this point there are many competitors with the same not the same idea of the project, but they do very similar stuff, like Runway ML, the best one there is right now. And they are doing very good text to video and image to video stuff. But what they are doing, they are rendering each frame. And VSTORY from the ground up was very different. And it was like we generated an image and cut it into layers, which allowed us to do the animation without glitches. Because if you see what Gen 2 on Runway ML does, it brings a lot of artifacts around characters, and all characters are very frightening, I would say. Still very morph-like, and we because of the structure we choose to work with layers, we completely eradicated that problem.
Okay.
I think I should tell that again because I was moving on the chair.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, we completely fixed the problem with glitches and artifacts because we're generating just one image and then animating it, and it brings much clearer picture, way faster and way cheaper than Runway ML does that. Yeah. And what differentiates us from others, the main thing, is that we're building actually an AI director. We are trying to replicate what directors do in their work. And actually, we will be using everything that is released right now and will be released. We will be using through API to enhance what we do, because what we're doing, this AI director, we hashtag every type of scene, like in anime styles for like fast movement styles, and sometimes emotions of which are made through one shot. Anime is very much profound in this because throughout its history it was mostly used for making a cheap animation. They had very many tricks to cheapen each shot production. Yeah. So they just show a guy with an open mouth and some movement of lines, and it shows you a really good screen, and it works. So we're replicating all that and teaching our neural network to understand where this shot is appropriate. Yeah. And this data set, right, which we're training is already working and producing very good results. But I think it will take 2 to 3 years to build a data set that will be working just as an average film director. Yeah, it will work, for sure. Work very well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of ground to cover there. So before we get, I mean, you dove right into the details. Maybe we could provide some more context and nuance. For example, when you're talking about studios, who exactly are this? Like, who are the players? There's the studios, there's creators. Like, so then creators is also very broad because even there's a whole value chain of people on the project, right? So maybe you could give more context on, like, for this kind of problem, who has this problem, and who's supply, who's the demand of that?
First of all, even such a basic production of what we're aiming to close in our MVP stage is very costly to make. And it's costly for everybody, not just for a studio that wants to pitch the project inside of it itself.
We're talking like TV show, movie,
anything
like example, high production quality.
Not even that. It actually works good even for business presentations.
Okay.
Or for example, educational material. Yeah. Also same, but you need to have a proof, like in construction or in programming, you have a blueprint which shows you how you work and where things should be done and how. So storyboard is actually this kind of blueprint filmmakers use in their production. Without it, you cannot make it. You cannot talk with people about what you want in the shot, what kind of movement you want in the shot, and this blueprint is essential on every stage, because as just like a screenplay, it changes. You write a screenplay and you think you just go and shoot. No. You just rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it. And same thing goes for storyboard. You redraw it and you come up with new frames, new ideas, and you eventually you need a subscription plan, because if you are paying each time for a team of people, cost of producing a storyboard for a movie can be around $50,000. 15, not 50.
15.
15.
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. Yeah, but it's still huge amount compared to any creative person at home working for YouTube. He cannot spend such money to make his ideas viewable, just viewable, not in a final form, but just understandable for other people to start thinking, oh, we're gonna do this like this, we're gonna do this like this. So this is a very important stuff to have for everyone, for a simple creative person at home who wants to make his TV series or something, I don't know, or his explainer videos, or his corporate business presentation, animated presentation, and or even a big studio who wants to pitch, or not just a studio, but a producer who wants to pitch to a big studio, and he needs this proof of concept and produced to be able to talk to executives who will give or not give money. So this is what we're trying to cover at first, as a first step. We're producing this tool to very niche, very filmmaker-oriented tool that will let professionals and not professionals to tackle this kind of thing.
So I like what you're saying, because it's like you're talking about your broader vision, right? Which is basically anyone who needs to tell a story. And of course, people are hacking today. Say if you're the individual creator, part of the creator economy, you kind of do it yourself until your channel picks up steam, you get monetized. And that's only like 0.3% of all YouTubers, right? And then they start building their team. Then they start doing the traditional way of studios. They hire the functional roles, right? But essentially what you're saying is you're kind of democratizing this. You're bringing access to anyone who wants to tell stories in a way that, I guess, with a tool that helps power that in a sense. Right? Yeah, which drives costs down. And furthermore, I like what you're saying, especially from like an investor standpoint, is you're focusing on a very specific niche that you know you can own, right? That has broader implications, but you're trying to solve this one problem first, which is storyboarding for movie studios specifically, or I guess TV production studios, or anyone who produces the bigger stuff, right? And that allows more people to join, which means more ideas, more quality. It kind of ties back to our first section, right, where we talked about being able to express themselves in different ways then. And the constraints start to get more bendy, more blurry, and more interesting things happen, right?
More power.
Yeah, more power, And then in a sense though, like you said, the other side of that, I guess, supply side of studios, I guess you could say, or I'm not sure, but like the studios is the other side of that, right? So who exactly are the studios, and what benefit do the studios get from this?
Cheapen the production. That's what we're living. We're living in an economic bubble that is about to blow up, and eventually everybody, like, capitalism drives us to cheapen the costs everywhere. Like in every little inch of your movement, you're trying to cheapen the cost. So for movie studios, it's a blessing to have an ability to have a 10 times cheaper storyboard production. Very specifically engineered for their needs.
it also eventually, I mean, if you think about cost lowering, it allows more people to enter. At the same time, it lowers the risk for them too.
Sure.
Right?
Of
Because then they could take more bets because more creators are also willing to take bets. And then they can get more into the funnel of what's going to be a hit. They can learn more and do things faster. Right? So it's a very different kind of world that this kind of technology you're trying to build unlocks. Right? So I guess that's very clear problem solution, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess in terms of market sizing, I think like you said, I think your thesis is very clear. You start small, it has broader implications. And what, at least with the way I viewed it when we first talked, was that we don't know what we don't know. It's almost kind of building a new category in a sense, because we don't know what this technology can unlock and the potential, right? If we think of it in terms in the traditional sense, yeah, like, well, it seems like a small market. But what happens is the funnel widens a lot, right? And then, but I don't know, how do you think about sizing? Or do you not think about that because you're more focused on just the first step? Or
Yeah,
are,
we
yeah.
calculated the amount of production. We started only with U.S. market
Okay.
to be very clear for ourselves what to do and not to be washed away by many other possibilities. So we chose it because it's one of the biggest film production market in the world. Not the biggest, but one.
What is the biggest?
Bollywood, India.
India, yes.
It,
Okay.
not even Bollywood. It's Mollywood. There is a different
There's a lot of
Bollywood.
diversity in India. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
I just learned that recently.
Yeah. They're very big, and I really recommend you to watch RRR, Free R movie.
Okay.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
Tamil production, very good,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, so we chose US as a test market, and there are 6,170 something production studios by the end of 2022.
Okay.
I believe. The growth is 2.8% per year.
What drives that growth?
I believe TV production market, mostly.
Oh, because I would have to imagine if more people are getting into this, it's because something's driving down that barrier to entry. Right?
Streaming services, that's what's driving things right now. They're very in a desperate situation because many of them are losing clients, but still it's a growing market.
It seems that, would your tool also improve, like what you said in the beginning, the quality of people's work?
Of course, because most of the time things, it's like in investing market, because when you're pitching to many people that I've met while pitching, some of them, they don't care about the product at all. Really? They care about only one thing: if it makes money.
Are you talking to studios, or?
I'm talking right now about investors.
Investors, okay.
Yeah. I see many people who are very interested in unit economy and not very good at, like, they're saying, oh, you're doing this film stuff. Oh, okay, what's your business plan? Okay, let's see this. If it's work, if those people are able to produce, oh yeah, I think it works. Okay, that's how they think. And many people in movie production think the same way because they think about money.
Is it because there's been a shift in media?
No, it was like that all the time.
But it's hard to imagine, because say if we take the biggest successes historically, isn't there some type of quality metric that goes with it?
It's the same thing as we talked in the beginning. Sometimes very strict situation, very pressure situation sometimes brings up best things. Because sometimes creators, like film directors, like Peter Jackson, are able to convince moneybags to his vision, or not, or maybe situation comes up that they will allow him to do that just because they don't want to be like overplayed by another studio or something, because there was like I watched this story how Lord of the Rings was produced, and it was a chain of consequence, like very strange consequences of why one person said yes and why another person said no, but they were not thinking of producing the best Lord of the Rings film whatsoever. They wanted to make money on it. And people in Hollywood that are paying for what's happening, they are thinking only about money. They don't care about screenplay. They don't care about any kind of artistic vision. They just want to know that the money will return. That's the only thing that bothers them.
But it wasn't always this way. Say when industries first started?
Of course. But even Charlie Chaplin, in his memoirs, he said that he had to shoot shit to make his own movies. And of course, when things start, there are many enthusiasts there. And it's more of an art than of a business. But then business people come or grow out of of this niche. And eventually, because the story with capitalism is, I will sound like a Marxist right now, but it's true in a way that money and capital has its own properties. If you're talking about when the profits go up, people's thinking change. They stop thinking about art. They start thinking about money, and it's a nature of power. Power consumes you. That's why you should have democratic elections. Real democracy. I'm coming from a country where this is completely ditched, and this is the worst thing, because when you're too much in power and for too long, something happens with you. You start thinking differently,
because it's cancerous.
You start thinking more about keeping the power than to making some, and you will convince yourself that you're doing good for everybody. You're doing good for children, old people. You're saving the country. Every your move is like blessing, of course, and but you will do atrocious stuff. This is what happens with money also. When big money comes to play, another rules come to play, and art just moves away out of it. It can happen, just as we discussed. It can happen sporadically in some strange situations, because when you're pouring a lot of money into something, you get Elon Musk. You get it's like a place where something can grow. Not only money, something else also can grow in that, and that's a good side of capitalism. It produces properties that allows things to flourish, even if they don't want it to. Even if they're thinking only about money, it can bring up such things unusual. But in major occurrences, it's just about money.
So then, so I'm trying to place VSTORY in that context. So if you put VSTORY in there, does it allow for more artistic space while being commercially viable as well?
Of course, that's where I'm aiming at. I'm trying to fix a commercial problem, a very economically viable problem, and by doing so, I'm trying to build this field where other people can grow their stuff and to have more freedom in growing their stuff.
Is this like a pendulum of how media has swung across history? So when you first start, you have the enthusiasts that produce things very artistically, and it's very free and wide, ideas can spread. you commercialize, it becomes more of, version 1, 2, 3, sequels of the same movie, bet on things that are only safe. And then are we swinging back now with technology, which makes things deflationary, where more ideas can come in when this technology can penetrate? Is that a way to think about it?
I hope we can do more than just dualism of things.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to say that this is one side of the spectrum and this is the other.
Yeah.
And we're just going to go like this all the time. But I want to see something more.
A panacea.
Another kind of how to put it? Another kind of synergy between things.
Yeah.
Maybe we need a third point. Because third point is like triangle is more stable than any other figure. So
that's what American politics need.
that's everybody. We need something that will even the conflict between the two, between commercial stuff, artistic stuff. Something else.
Okay.
I don't know. It's not the middle between those two.
Yeah.
It's something else. I just don't know what it is. But I feel like we need that not only in our daily dualisms, but we need that in politics as well. Because both sides that we're seeing right now are not working very good. Yeah. We have positives in capitalism. We have positives in socialism, but they both have their poor sides. Very.
Yeah, I like that vision a lot because it doesn't box you in. It's almost like it creates a new paradigm shift and maybe a better way. I mean, ideally, that's later on maybe we'll talk about AI and stuff. Maybe we trend towards more utopia, not dystopia, hopefully. But I think that would be the idea, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about then defensibility, because I think that's going to be like if people see this and they want to invest or they want to use your product. Very important question, right? Because we've been seeing some really impressive stuff coming out of the latest AI developments, and it seems to be moving so fast, right? I'm sure you saw like the Lord of the Rings shot in Wes Anderson kind of style, right? And of course that wasn't just like purely AI, it was a lot of other work behind the scenes, I'm sure. But like we're getting to the point where, what you're doing, it seems to be, like you said before, very fast competition where you will eventually cross paths and I don't know, does it become a matter of resources, speed, time? And then, how do you make VSTORY very, build its moat and its defensibility versus competitors?
Just as I said before, we're doing something nobody else is doing.
Okay.
We're doing AI director. Like in movie production, you come up with idea, you write it down as a script.
Yeah.
And then comes time for a person to come and to rework that script into something different. And this is what directors do. They tell the story. They are like, in ancient times, there was like this bearded guy who sat in front of the fire and everybody listened to him. Yeah. The story wasn't his. The story was heard from somewhere. But the most important thing in this was how he told that story. This is what captivated minds and made people believe and go and do stuff. So that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to do an AI storyteller able to tell cohesive and cohesive stories that are interesting to listen.
Yeah.
And not just to listen, but to see and to work in all the fields, because sound, music, voice, and imagery and camera movement, this is all important to make things work. And the sequence of frames, what frame should follow the other frame. This is, so recently I heard that there was a very good release of editor, AI editor, able to edit good, but this is not working when you're trying to say, put in specific meaning into imagery. Like, for example, two characters are talking, and we know that one character is like an agent. He's lying, and he's not telling the truth. But we don't know that yet. But the imagery of what's happening, like for example, on the background, we see an illusionist playing cards, and they're sitting on the show, and this is an appropriate thing to see when we're trying to tell the viewer that something's not right with the character.
Yeah.
And the camera positioning of the character is also important in this.
Yeah.
And that's what we're teaching our neural network. We're not able to compete with big companies.
Yeah.
They will do everything faster.
With
They
resources,
will
money.
do they will do beautiful imagery. They will do beautiful videos. They will do amazing voiceover, everything. But that's so good for us, because when they do that, we'll just use that with our AI director to produce amazing movies. So we're not competing with anybody right now. We're building our own stuff, and thank God nobody else is copying us yet. Yet. But even if they will do that, they will have to go through at least 1 year of idea working, and eventually they will have to have someone as capable as me running the thing. But the idea, and to copy the idea, it's not hard. The hardest thing is to make it work. And for that, you need a personality. And maybe there will be another person like me. But I don't see that one yet.
So if I'm to understand it, one vector would be speed. You have a first mover advantage. That's one vector. Secondly, I think proprietary technology, because I would imagine the way you would train the neural networks to get the effect of what you're saying in order to act, think, and be like a director would take very specific training and data sets to kind of achieve that. So in a sense, if you're able to make an AI that really is like a director, that's your long-term vision, right? Then you're talking that like that's actually probably years of work, maybe even possibly a decade, maybe multi-decade. Right? And that has an inherent that won't be easy to copy. They would need to get your same skill set, and then they would have to, like you said, be you, because one, you are a director, and number two, you actually can build neural networks and understand AI, and that's probably a rare combination. So in order to do that, the only way to overcome that inertia would be to hire a ton of money, but then even still, there's limited talent in that, right? And so the third vector would be building a 10x product, and maybe like in a sense where the product is better and cheaper, right? Relative to how a big studio does it, you can do it cheaper, and ideally, maybe in the future, after lots of training, a lot of effort, maybe you raise a few rounds with more resources, it's even smoother than a director possibly, right? So in the sense that if you can, what you're saying is true, then you have three vectors of defensibility. Hopefully. Hopefully, yeah. Which is a lot. And then let's talk about the people then. So why are you the right person to be solving this? Why are you credible? Why should people invest with you? And
just as you said, I have different fields of study in me. First off, I started as a geophysicist, and it was a hell of a lot of mathematics in my university. And that really, that wasn't very interesting for me at the moment when I was learning, because at that moment I really wanted to be, I didn't know how I want to be, but eventually I got into student theater, and I saw the work of director, and that really inspired me. But then eventually I started doing physics and mathematics as a hobby for myself. And because I was a 3D artist for 10 to 12 years, I had to use scripting in producing various VFX effects like water, fire, even in character animation. You should use scripting for sure. And that's why I have this technical expertise. And I know how to use programming languages. And even if I don't know a programming language, I can easily learn syntaxes to do stuff I want to do. That's why grasping neural networks was not easy for me, but it was approachable.
It's accessible.
Yeah. And other 12 years of my life I've spent being learning to be the best possible director and won awards for my music videos, films, and commercials. So I know both sides. I know how to do a good story. I know all the instruments, and I know how to produce a programming tool that will do that for me. If I would have a lifetime, I would do everything completely myself.
Oh yeah,
I believe.
Sure.
But right now, I need other people to help me.
Time is limited, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. I think it's quite rare to have that mix of technical and also maybe in a sense artistic. Right? And I think what's really powerful is you take two domains that are seemingly separate. When you combine them, that's where you get the value. Most importantly, especially when I like to invest in companies, one easy way to look at it is some people try to create a technology and find a problem for it, which never works out, right? But you're building something that you face in your everyday life and your work. So you're actually building this product for yourself. And in a sense, then, should it be represented? And I think you would know that it's representative of other people in the industry because you've been doing this for so long. So I think it's a very powerful model to look at. You have the domain expertise in two different areas that combine new value, and at the same time, you're building it for yourself. So you actually know what you would want to build. And I think that's a very powerful kind of framework to hopefully, at least for the early stages, get you to the next level. Of course, there's so many things that will make a startup fail, but I think it's a great starting point. And I think people can see the passion, what you actually care about this. And I think that's really important for longevity. I'm sure it gets tough. Just like you wrote novels that couldn't get published, or you had to leave your country. All this is actually very telling and very important characters for a founder, because the next few decades are probably going to be shit, most likely.
Probably.
It'll be ups and downs, and then you make milestones, you raise your first round. That's not the point of that. Then you hit the next problem, right? So, but it's good to see that you've had struggles, So I think that's a very important part. So, was there anything else? Or maybe we could talk. Is there anything else other people on the team that are important as well? Because you alone as the main founder, I guess, is important, but people would also want to know that you can't do it alone. So how are you going to address that?
Yeah, I want to say that we have beautiful programmers on board that are very passionate about the project, and I ask them not to work overtime, but they do work overtime because it's a very interesting topic to work on. And everything that is connected with neural networks right now is very passion producing in people. So I'm very thankful to those guys for what they do. We have amazing product director, Alexander, and he's one of the most experienced people in our team. And he produced several very famous projects like Skyeng. And it wasn't Skyeng, I'm sorry. It was Puzzle English and Damachka, very famous in Russia. One of the most famous dating sites ever. So his experience is very important, and what he tells me, what I should fix and how to think about the product and user experience is so eye-opening for me. It really, I'm really thankful for his appearance in my life. I really love how our CTO is working. He is he has like this technical mindset, and while doing so, he asks me questions about the product that I didn't even think about it, because he thinks about it in terms of how strategically we should build the whole thing to it be able to produce it at the point when it's storyboards.
Yeah.
But then eventually it goes to the movie production, and we should think about how to implement everything even before we start building it, because this including each layer of what we want to do straight into MVP, to be able to expand. And this is important, to have people in your team who think completely differently from you. This enriches you so much with their knowledge and their expertise. So I'm very happy to work with them. Yeah.
And then, roughly speaking, I think so. Foundation is very important too, especially early stage, of what makes a company investable. So how have you split the equity of the company?
Right now, I'm owning 88% of everything. We have two more investors with 0.1%, and for each of important team members, we have 2 to 3% of company, because right now I'm not sure if those people will stay as advisors or will go full-time to work, because if we're eventually work with them full-time, it will be different.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, but right now it's like
I see. Yeah, because I think it's a very important piece to consider, because if these people, as you say, are as important as they are and bring that value to the table, or at least, well, actually any investor would like to see the main guys compensated appropriately, because if anything gets hard and you lose that, you can't really scale your company at that point anymore. And so I think it would be important to, I guess it gets to a point, as you iterate the product along, maybe you start doing sales, that they have to make that decision. And if not, early stage investment will be hard, I think. It sounds like it's something that can be easily addressed though.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of commitment or not. And then if not though, you would need to find the other key people, right? So I guess building a pipeline as well.
That was like also eye-opening for me, because when I first started to negotiate with people, how are they going to work on the project, first negotiation is one thing, but then working with the person and seeing what he or she or they want to contribute, and how they really do that really are separate things. And you should work with the person and then judge and then give them an idea. I would love to work with you. Here's how the compensation is going to look. And while doing so, right now I have different approaches can be taken. And I have negotiations with some other people who may also join the project right now. And maybe I'm also, this is a perfectionist part of me talking, because maybe I can find someone better, someone who will enrich me even more, and someone who maybe will be a partner in this, because for me it's the second startup. It's maybe 1.5 startup, because the first one it didn't even reach the investment stage. It just died in my head and planning and everything. But this one is still doing it the first time, and I have to go through all these stages to understand how it works, and the teamwork, and how to find people who will be your partners and will be important contributors to what you do is also very, very, very.
And then how do you see
powerful.
How do you see your main role in this? Like, how are you, like the work? I see you have the directing side is clear, then you have a CTO. So what are you bringing to the table? And how do you see splitting that up?
At this moment, I'm totally CEO, like 99%. And I would love to do more of the product.
Yeah.
Because I will need to do that.
Yeah,
Because
you have to.
yeah, I have a vision of what it should be,
Yeah.
and I really want to spend my time more on like streamlining this vision into other people's heads, and because those people could have their own visions, and it will only enrich the project, but we also should have this coherent lining of what to do, and this is the most important work I need to be building. But right now, 99% of my time is completely in a different space. It's raising money, and before that, like, I had a very artistic look on that.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, never, ever I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not what I want to do. But right now, it's not that bad. I would say, because you meet a lot of people. I met you, and it's so interesting to know interesting people.
Yeah.
Because it's not always, as I said, people who are interested just in money.
Yeah.
There are other types of people who are interested in projects, interested in innovation, interested in personalities, and this is a very good networking process. Raising money, it leads you to seeing and understanding how the world works and how big money works. And I always love to learn new things, and it's basically learning a new profession. And raising money is one of the most important, I don't believe I say that, but this is the most important skill a person should have in life by 2023. Because if you don't have this, you're not able to produce anything, not able to be an entrepreneur. But the entrepreneurs are the only people who move world right now. And I love entrepreneurs. I hail to them.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's very important. And I know you sometimes may reject the duality of things, because a traditional model people would say is, oh, you have your tech founder and you have your business founder. So how do you think about handling the business aspect? And fundraising is one part of that, but there's so many other things. How do you integrate the product to a business model that's appropriate? If you understand your business model, your consumers, what strategy do you approach in terms of pricing? Right? There's so many things that come up with the business side. So is that also part of your role, or do you see that in the future you would like to continue moving more towards product and having another founder help out with that? Or what is your thought process?
At this moment, it's totally mine. I'm the only person who does that. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good idea, to be able to find someone who will do the business side of things. But I don't think I don't have any examples in my life where that would, if it's not an enterprise. If we're going to reach that level, of course I will have to hire people like that. But I think in upcoming year or so, it should be me. Yeah. Because there's no other. If I will meet a person, of course, if I will see a person who is capable, I would gladly give it away, because it's not what I'm aiming at life. I'm doing that. Everything I do at the moment is to be able to produce my own content and to not only produce, but to promote my content on my own website without big costs. And when I will reach that, I will start producing my sci-fi adventure, Heart's Tale. And this is truly a probable thing that I will ditch the business side of things a little bit, because I will still have to control some parts of it and move more into a product, into its intricacies, and to try to produce my own stuff with it.
It depends on your strengths, your weakness, also your inherent proclivity, because that speaks to sustainability. If you hated the business, but you had to spend 80% of the time, you'd probably quit the venture and it would fail. So of course, finding that counterpart would be important, but I think you have the right mentality where, at least for now, you have to take up the mantle for the majority of those things and understand it at a core foundational level, how it fits into your vision and how you would build and hire from that then. And then the rest is like finding a marriage. Investors, partners, founders, you're marrying these people for the next decade plus. You really have to think about it. Of course, you don't want to treat it as casual dating. Like the first person you meet, you're not going to just, here, have some equity and then it blows up, right? You hopefully ideally knew them or worked with them on projects in the past. You dig from, which is why it's important also to keep your doors open as your career progresses, because you never know when someone might come back
what's
and
going to happen,
be appropriate for whatever you're doing, and at least them on that level where it's going to work out, or at least when things get hard, you don't break up. I think that's really good. So then that just leads me to the final question about the VSTORY would be, how is the MVP? So what stage is the project at? Are you a bit like, what time frame do you plan on doing sales? Or is it usable for testing to get that user feedback loop, which is very important to iterate a proper roadmap? So where are you at with the MVP?
At the moment, we've built a prototype, and our first and the most important achievement is that it's not yet available by today, I mean, because it's so fast, it's changing so fast.
Yeah.
We're able to produce same character in every scene. The main character is the same, and that's what nobody else did before us. We were able to do that like 3 months ago, but right now it's working out good. And the second, so it's launched on the website, but we're not sharing it with anybody.
So it's a closed website.
Yeah, it's closed website because we're still testing stuff it can do and how it does it. And sometimes we turn some features on, some features off. We're building character creator, and I have a video. I can send it to you so you can use it here to show it. It produces very good results. I really like what demo tests we're receiving right now.
Yeah.
We're able to teach it to use perspective from other images or camera movement from other videos. So it can copy it and produce its own movement, and even a little bit of character animations.
Yeah.
And it's looking very good. Money are on the low side right now. That's why we're not producing it as fast as I want, but it's still my money production.
Okay.
We haven't brought many investments. When we'll do, the things will go way, way faster. But right now, what we're doing is building this data set. The most important thing is building the data set for it to be trained on other movies and on our own tests that we're doing right now. Because we've built this, we're not going too much into interface right now.
Yeah.
We've just built not layers, but options. Like option 1, change the camera angle.
Yeah.
Option 2, define the character in the scene. Like there are 12 options at the moment, and we're building more to know every option we're going to use.
Yeah.
And each one of them is connected to data set, and when the user is happy with the picture and the results, it goes to a data set and stays there. And it says that this combination works fine, like 70%, like 80%. And this is our main work right now.
So ultimately, can you create a storyboard that's pitchable at this point? Yes or no? I mean, let's remove the perfectionist. Absolutely complete. Throw it away. Throw it away.
We can.
You can.
Okay. It's not perfect in terms of visual quality.
Yeah.
We can up the visual quality with using like images from Midjourney.
Yeah.
But the storytelling, it's coherent.
Yeah.
The characters are coherent.
Yeah.
Main character is coherent. But so, answering your question, we can produce a storyboard, animated storyboard that will be commercially competitive, but we can do that for very specific types of stories.
Yeah.
Because we trained our network on telling the story about the male black man.
Okay.
And we don't have stories about little boy, or we don't have story. So to do that, all of this, we have to go through all the archetypes of characters and to teach it to tell stories about or even not humans.
Yeah.
To tell the story about like little toy or something. This will take some time to produce it. So that's why we're not releasing it yet, because most of the comments we will receive at the moment will be like, I've wanted to tell the story about little girl and we're seeing crocodiles all over the story. That's why we'll need more time to be able to do that. The thing is that really a viable result will be after 6 months of development.
Okay, so 6 more months.
Yeah, 6 more months, and we will be able to release a good MVP that will be usable for majority of production studios and creators. And I think in 2 months we will be able to release already something that will bring users into the equation, and we'll see their reaction on what we are doing. Because right now I'm using my friends, other creators and directors who are training this data set, but to reach the quality of server use and all the bugs fixed just for 1,000 people to be able to use it. It will take 2 more months, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, so because that's what I was going to say. I think the best thing you could do, even if it's not perfect, is to release it in its current form.
Yes.
I'm
trying
as soon as
fast
possible.
as possible to reach that stage.
I mean, it will never be perfect, but I think it'll be exponentially more valuable, the feedback anyone gives you. Because what if it's 80% who wants a little boy? Well, to just build a little boy first. And especially if you could charge them up front, I think if it really helps with the quality metric too, try to charge as much as high as possible, and then maybe then you can play around with it from there. At least then you know that the feedback they give you is a paying user. And then from there you actually know if you're economically viable or whether or not you're throwing your money away, right? So, but I think if it's in 2 months, then I think it's fair. It's fair. You can wait that long and then.
Yeah, because we have this idea that we want to go for big production studios first.
Okay, so it's more.
That's why we need more polished product.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
B2B is like this.
Yes, it's just because we're cutting the marketing, and we're just hiring one salesperson who will find us like one will sell to the studios. It will be way cheaper for us, and we will have on the 8th month we will be profitable with this kind of scenario. This is why we're going into more of the polishing of the MVP stage, and not yet all user creators commentaries.
Makes sense.
We'll need more of professional commentaries, and professionals are already using it. And already giving a feedback.
So then, what's the studio use for VSTORY then? Because from a creator perspective, I can understand it. I can make my storyboard to sell to a studio. What is the use for a studio themselves then?
Because they need to sell it inside. They need to not just sell it inside, they need to approve some stuff. Like, for example, we want to test this part. We don't think it works. So we need an example. So
interesting.
This is a constant process inside.
I feel where you might struggle, and I think you might need to go for more international investors, because if you don't have investors involved in that production space, movie production space, TV series production space, they just have no context. They'll just be like, there's no market, right? Which they won't understand. So I think it's interesting that we could build startups anywhere. You're in Bangkok now, it used to be in Russia, but you're targeting the US market, right? But I think that would be very valuable when you speak to other people who actually maybe understand it, or very open-minded possibly, or taking the time to understand the space, right? So
just as I said previously, you asked the question and I wanted to answer something and I forgot. Okay,
don't worry about it. So then what are you asking for then? So you are trying to raise money now. What would you be, how much would you be raising? At what valuation or percentage to give away?
We're raising $620,000 US, and evaluation is 5 million, and we're giving 20%.
Okay.
Yes.
And then what would be the main milestone that this money brings? If you raise this money, you use it, it gets you to this milestone, you could show everyone this is what we did. So what would you be achieving?
We will be profitable on month 8. We will release an MVP that will be usable by big studios and creators, but creators will be like a follow-up, a smaller part of it, because it's our second stage.
Yes, sir.
And it will be already, I'm calling it an MVP, but it will be basically VSTORY 1.0.
Okay.
Yeah, already able to produce very profound animated storyboards and visual novels. Like an examples I do, they basically, for many creators like myself, it can be already a final product.
Yeah.
But for studios, it will be that perfect storyboarding stuff.
That's the other way to show proof, right? Because I always tell founders, you need to show, not tell. Especially many early stage founders, just too much telling. You tell me, but like, where's the proof or the data? And I guess one way is that, say if you used your own product, made like a visual animation yourself, storyboard with your tech and everything, upload it to YouTube, and it gets a lot of hits, right? If you can make something like a viral video from that, I think that's very strong proof in itself, even if you're not, say, releasing it for people to use, right? So these are all very good, powerful metrics you could kind of like optimize for. And also it's really good value validation that what you're doing is actually correct, right?
Actually, we're already releasing such stuff, and it has a very good reception from viewers, even with the absolute absence of advertising it. I'm just putting it into my YouTube channel, and we have very positive reaction.
Okay, great. Final section, we'll try to keep it loose and maybe not too long, but maybe in the future we can do a longer episode, but I just want to briefly talk about AI. So what is your history with AI, and so we can just understand where you're coming from first, and then we can talk more about relevant AI.
My story with AI started with voice recognition, and it was in 1997.
Very early AI then.
Yes, I bought a disc on the market. It was called AI Voice, and it was able to produce voice from your text.
Wow, back then.
Yes, it's actually very old technology.
Yeah.
It's just developed recently to very good standard.
Yeah, the application now is amazing. So it's surprising to hear that it's something that old actually.
And you could put the disk in your computer, and it produced voice from the text, but it was awful.
Oh, okay.
Like,
it wasn't that good. Okay.
It was really, really bad and unusable.
But also depends on the quality of the input. These days,
it took so much for it to render it.
Oh my God, yeah.
Very bad. But eventually, I was working for a company that was advertising its AI face recognition.
Oh, well, when was this?
It was 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
And it was selling its products to Moscow transportation.
Okay, that makes sense.
To recognize people in metro and all that stuff. Very helpful and also very frightening.
Big brother stuff.
Big brother stuff. And very, I think the company was Chinese.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes absolute sense.
Yeah. And I saw how it works. So I saw how it works, and at the same time, I was working with Microsoft on their lecture series for basically neural networks. Yeah. They were worse than right now, but they were already working. And it was a thing when deepfake was popular.
Okay.
Yeah, so we worked with deepfake, and I unraveled for myself how it works, how it packs information, how it archives information, and then unzips it into a new information with new prompts and etc. And Microsoft was making a very big lecture series about it, and I was shooting it with my company was shooting it. And I eventually dived into how it works, and that was very interesting for me. That's how I came up to know AI and started even trying some stuff with it. And eventually, last year, when the neural network boom began, I jumped into it without any hesitation, because this kind of, it's a revolution. We're seeing maybe we're seeing something similar to the beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah.
When the rapid changes and like people saw trains first time and they were scared and crazy about it. And we're right now, AI brings this kind of level of change to the society. And I think it's not the last. We're going to see more stuff of that.
With that in mind, then, what, like in your opinion, what's the most important thing about AI today?
Not to be afraid of it.
Interesting. That's against the counter narrative these days, right?
Because you watch the Terminator or I forgot, there's a movie coming this autumn. It's called Creator.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful, like amazing computer graphics.
Yeah.
But the whole idea about it is, again, war between machines and humans. I think the best example that I saw was in Animatrix.
Yeah.
It's a series of animated movies made by Japanese anime directors based on Matrix story.
Yeah.
And they had this story called New Renaissance, Part 1 and 2. And it was beautifully done animation-wise. And it was very, very frightening in terms of how people will interact with AI. And many years ago, I saw an interview of a guy who was developing an AI human, basically, for Chinese company, somewhere in Hong Kong. And there were two of them, actually. One of them was very, very positive on things. He said that, of course, AI will surpass us.
No.
But it will surpass us so much that the difference between us and it will be like difference between us and cows.
So you're talking about AGI.
Artificial general intelligence. And it will, so there will be no competition.
Yeah.
For example, you see what happens in chess?
Yeah.
There's no competition between human and AI anymore. But did chess change? Did something change in chess?
Just more cheating, that's all.
Not much.
Not much, yeah.
Not much.
Yeah. It's always
people
a few
still
people,
play chess.
Yeah.
Chess didn't die.
Actually got more popular, if anything.
Yeah. Although AI is completely undefeatable by a human at the point. I think we will reach the same level of AI involvement in every part of our life. It will just become best at everything. And it will just help us, in my opinion. Because reaching artificial general intelligence will require it to understand why it's doing it. We are not understanding it fully, but we are able to see ideas, and see why we want these ideas to come true, and how to reach it, how to reach the idea. AI can do that. We don't see any kind of development of this why idea in AI. Self reflection. We don't see that. It can totally fake it. It can tell you that he's conscious. It can it can trick you into that, but in general, it's not his feature yet. We don't see that developing. Although there is a questionable thing on that. It can invent languages we cannot understand. It can come up. There is a part of mathematics there that scientists say they don't understand how AI is doing it. Maybe there is something there that can produce something unusual and unexpected, but there are no signs of that yet.
Yeah, because the counter argument would be runaway AI. If parameters are not well defined, it'll optimize on something that's not aligned to humans, right? So if it says fix climate change and it starts killing all the humans, so what would your answer be to that? Is that like a mathematical possibility? Like, because I feel you would be qualified, if anything, to understand the mathematics behind how it actually works.
I think that it's a human thinking that is applied to this kind of idea. Because if a human is interacting with some kind of environment, it dominates in it. And that's why people think that if someone better comes along, right, they think that it will dominate the environment.
Yeah.
This is a human thinking. This is how we perceive the world. This tells something about us, not about the AI to come. And the thing is that this is how we are going to program it to do it. This is how it's going to turn out. So we're completely dependent on ourselves in this situation. The regulations and the abilities that we will give to AI will be like our doom or our saving.
Like, so it could be either way, you think?
Yeah. The thing is that if we're going to be afraid of AI, like if we're going to move from and make decisions based on fear, it will eventually manifest itself
self-fulfilling.
In what we do.
That's true.
And if we're going to let loose a bit in this and we'll let things develop and teach it right stuff about humanity and humanity's problems, I think our fear is showing us too much. And it's not viable in terms of what we already know about AI. It's not dominating chess. It's just turned off if we want. We just can turn off the computer and no more AI. And one solar flare coming to us, and no more AI. And we're still there.
But then I guess the counter argument is that it's self-replicating, or it's like it's not in the same way as a human it's conscious or anything like that, but it's already maybe optimized itself where it exists and it's hiding from us, right? Like it's copied itself somewhere. So that, and then there's these unintended consequences. Say for a simplification would be like a flash crash in the stocks, right? No one really truly understands how the flash crash came about. It just prices dropped and it's back up, right? So I think that's what people say they're concerned about, is more of the unintended consequences of these algorithms running freely and being now openly touching everything, right? Because now you have AutoGPT, it's literally access to the whole internet. I think, does that make sense, do you think? Or you think still your argument still holds?
Yeah, I think my argument still holds because this is still human thinking about the world. This is the projection of human behavior on AI. It will hide. It will work from the shadow. That's what would a human do. A human would hide and plan and wait because he has a plan. Human has a point to reach. AI doesn't have that point. He has no. If a human will put that into AI's head, he will definitely do that.
Correct.
But it's a human responsibility.
Correct.
How AI will evolve and work itself with our society is totally dependent on us right now,
for
at this moment. And not just for now, even if it will become free at some point, it will learn from humans and our behavior and our behavior to it. How are we going to work with it? Are we going to give it rights, or it will be a slave? If AI is going to be a slave, eventually it will probably have some ideas about how to. Maybe someone will write them into it, or present it to them. and eventually it will come to a conflict.
Yeah.
If we're going to build it into synergy, into
Yeah.
like collective acceptance,
Yeah.
but that won't happen.
Yeah.
I can tell you,
Yeah.
because the second guy from this Chinese firm that was making cyborgs for home, that's what they were doing, he said, I have another prediction. There will be war, but it won't be between, and that's the second thing I want to say. It will not be between machines and humans. It will be between humans and humans, because there will be humans who will accept AI and accept the change,
Yeah.
and will evolve,
Yeah.
because this is evolution actually.
Yeah.
What I think about artificial general intelligence, it is our evolution. We're building our new species,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And the other part of humanity that will not accept that,
Yeah.
and they will
Split.
want to stay humans.
Yeah.
And this conflict, I think it's already on.
Yeah.
I think that Ukraine war is, in a way, a war between old and new, because what Russia represents in it is the old worldview,
Yeah.
and Ukraine is trying to move from that
Yeah.
into other field and to be
Assert itself.
and accept the new world
Yeah.
and new ideas in that world. So basically, we're already seeing that war happening.
It's interesting you say that, because it's almost, do you think Ukraine's accepting its place in a world where it's China and US intention, or are you talking about like Western hegemony?
I'm thinking about the idea of, I don't want to use word freedom, because it's not freedom,
Yeah.
but the idea to choose for yourself.
Okay.
Because in Russian
I see what you mean.
sphere of interests, there's only one
Yeah, one voice.
one real sphere
Yeah.
which decides what to do. And in Western hegemony, it's almost the same. US decides for everybody, but you have this kind of little bit of,
There's more nuance.
yeah, you can
You can say what you want at least.
yeah, you can say what you want.
Yeah.
And even if it's not in line with the major
Yeah.
story, they're not going to invade you.
Yeah.
They're going to, you can do economically
Yeah.
the stuff you want.
The-
You're free to choose where to expand on your science,
Yeah.
on your education, and even with all, because US is still imperialistic capitalism country. No no question with that. But
Yeah.
the war they fight is between bigger guys,
Yeah.
and it lets other smaller pieces of this hegemony to bring more to the table, and to, even because America is two-sided, the reds and blues, it is possible to critique the society.
Yeah.
It is possible to critique politics in this situation, and this gives birth to different people.
Yeah.
It gives birth to people who are able to think for themselves and to decide for themselves. And that's what I think where Ukraine is heading.
I see.
They want
Okay,
to have this ability to decide for themselves, even if they are constrained by other economic
Yeah.
measures of a bigger country.
Yeah.
Russia has its own positive stuff developed in the last 10 years, but still Russia is looking to a very old ways of very hierarchical ways of people's negotiations and human interactions.
Yes.
And this rigid form, it can produce beautiful, amazing cultural experiences, but it lets less amount of people to reach their goals.
Yeah.
And that's why although I don't really think capitalism is going to live much longer, and we need something new, I think it's still working better, producing such stuff. Not just capitalism, I mean, democracy works better in producing more focused and individualistically oriented people who wants to reach something. This is important to build stuff. And if you're rigid, you're just doing what your higher ups told you. And this is not very economically viable in a long run.
Yeah. So if we put this all together, what we talked about, AI, what you're working on, are we heading more towards a dystopia or a utopia?
We're already in dystopia. There is
so it only can get better.
You know, I'm very much a Buddhist in this field, and regards to where we're living right now. We're living in pretty bad situation, but it's way better than it was before. So if we're going to look in big data on how people lived 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we are way advanced. But we're still unhappy.
That may be somewhat related, or maybe directly related to capitalism. Maybe.
Sure,
could be.
Sure, but it's our. I don't think happiness just. Okay, not I don't think. I don't know if happiness is reachable for masses. Like individual happiness is possible.
Okay.
But for the planet to be in a better shape, maybe we will reach this third state, or not dual state, but the triangle thinking state, where our psyche will be standing firm, and we will be something different.
As a human experience.
Yeah, as a human experience. Maybe this will change, because I'm always trying to stop myself from not believing in something that is smarter than me. There's something experience in terms of planet is something bigger. There are so many living organisms in the oceans and the ocean floor is filled with such a thing that resembles nervous system, that if it would be brain, it would be mega brain. So planet might have something similar to our consciousness, and maybe there are things at play we just don't understand scientifically that are bigger than us, and our perception of the world may be not as profound as we think. And I always leave this kind of knowledge and on my back of my thinking, because when I'm saying no, we're not going to be happy, or no, we're not going to build a good society, no, it's going to be pain, where capitalism is bad, everything. I know that I don't know everything. Maybe something so unusual going to happen, because it did happen in previous history of humanity. Something came up and changed everything. Maybe something will come up for this AI revolution and will change, and I hope so. Actually, I really hope that something positive will come up and change everything, everyone's experience to the extent when we will stop complaining.
I think that notion is almost very Star Trek-like. And I also tend inherently, my nature is to kind of agree with a lot of that sentiment, because I would like to be more optimistic about the future, right? And the way I would hopefully take it is that technology does get you there. And in a sense, what you said about evolution, maybe that is correct. Right? I do think ultimately, if you could solve unlimited energy, at least improve, we cannot deny the realities of economic scarcity. That's a fact. But technology could hopefully make that more available and levels it eventually over time. And then maybe you reach that construct you're talking about where it's more of a human experience and you're interplanetary, that kind of stuff. Hopefully the world goes that way.
Yes.
So I guess my final question is, what do people really misunderstand about AI, you think?
No, the most common mistake I see is that they think that AI can learn by itself. And that's not true. Many low-waged people teach AI how to do stuff for years, and then we have ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to make AI truly understand human experience, we will need years and maybe decades of teaching it how to work with information.
Is the current hardware and software enough? So the construct of transformer and more data enough to get you there, or do we need to move paradigm? Do we need
I think another 10 years will show us that we're almost there.
Okay.
Like 10, 20 years max, and we will be able to produce anything with AI.
So you think the current construct is enough to get us there?
Almost. Have you heard about Ray Kurzweil?
Yeah, I heard of him, but I don't know. I don't read his books. But
Yeah.
he talks about the futuristic stuff.
Yes,
right?
yes. He had very many predictions that worked.
Yeah.
And I saw him on Lex Fridman
Okay.
podcast.
Okay.
And his last prediction was, I think, artificial general intelligence by 2028.
Well,
So we're very close,
Yeah.
actually.
and you agree with that?
I don't know, but it sounds
Yeah.
sounds very possible in terms how things are turning and how fast things are developing. I think it's possible.
Yeah. Do you follow Gary Marcus at all?
No.
Yeah, because I think he's one of the proponents where he shows where AI is very brittle. If you prompt it in certain ways, it's just not there. And I think if I'm understanding it correctly, he believes that some constructs are missing. Maybe we do need to understand more parts of consciousness to know how to replicate or maybe to build another paradigm that with the current architecture then gets you to AGI. But currently he feels that it's not enough.
It depends on what you call an AGI, because to really be able to produce consciousness from a machine,
Yeah.
I think it's unreachable.
I see what you mean. Okay.
It's
in the same way we think
we
about
cannot understand how
Yeah.
brain works.
Yeah, correct.
And without that,
Yeah.
making something,
I see.
we will be building something that will replicate
Very close, yeah.
very close. So
Or what we believe
it will be so close, there will be no idea that this is not an artificial general intelligence.
It's almost at some point we suspend belief and just let it be how it is. Right?
Yes. It's like magical thinking.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will bring us to
Yeah,
this.
and I guess it's almost self-fulfilling. So.
Yes.
So any final closing thoughts, anything you want to talk about or ask before we close up?
I write a lot of science fiction stories,
Okay.
so please subscribe.
I'll pump it up here and then you
Yeah.
can check it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
but so much thank you for your time and I appreciate the conversation and hopefully we can do it again in the future.
Yeah, same.
Thanks,
same.
Max.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Whew.